Hello, sixth graders. It's me, Mr. Stahl. I hope you guys are doing okay and your first day went well yesterday. So, what we're going to do is kind of follow up on what we did yesterday, which was to diagram out piano keys and the notes and then label them. So, what our goal is for the day, our goal is for you to be able to look at a staff, look at the notes on the staff, and be able to play the notes in the right spot on the piano. Or if you have another instrument that you know pretty well and you think you can play these notes on that instrument, you're welcome to do that too. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to take a short video. We want to keep the video super short, around 30 seconds, 40 seconds. I mean, if you go over that time, it's not a big deal, but let's try to keep it on the short side. That way, it's a little easier for us to send these big files back and forth. And so that video you will not need to submit though until Wednesday. Okay, so today you're going to watch this video we're doing right now, and then tomorrow or tonight you can practice it as well, and then tomorrow, between whenever you get done watching this video and tomorrow, you'll want to submit the video of you playing these notes that I will show you. Okay, so we're just going to quickly talk about the notes on the staff here. We're not going to spend too incredible amount of time, and the goal here isn't to get you guys to memorize everything that's here. Okay, our goal isn't to get you to be like these super fluent readers of every note on the staff within the next week. Like, that's not going to happen, and that's not our overall goal anyways right now with the project. But I do want to make sure that everybody understands where the notes are on the piano or an instrument of some sort, and so we're going to use this as a means to learn that. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to show you the traditional way of doing this, of learning it, and then I'm going to show you a video that has a non-traditional way of learning it, so maybe one way will resonate with you. First of all, right here we have our treble clef, right? And we've all been probably seen this before, where we see this, E for this lines, we see E, G, B, D, and F, right? So those notes, or these lines here, are basically every good boy does fine, or every good boy deserves fudge, or something like that. And we've all been taught that at some point. I feel like I'm hiding behind the thing here. Then our spaces are F, A, C, E, excuse me, F, A, C, E. And that would basically pertain to any note that's on these spaces here. Okay, so basically, if we have a note on a line, it's going to correspond with E, G, B, D, or F. Or if you have a note in a space, it's going to correspond with the other. So really quickly, this is interesting to do backwards. Okay, really quickly, what we're going to do, I'm sorry about the glare here, is we're going to jot in a couple notes. So this note here, okay, that note there, I don't know if you can see that, it's on the line. That is going to be a B, right? And the note way up here is going to be an F. Okay, I know it's kind of hard to see that bottom line. And then, of course, the note here as well is also going to be an F. Okay, so those are, for treble clef, the main approximate notes where they go. Okay, now you also need to know that there's an E here. We're moving alphabetically no matter what. So our note sequences, if you remember from yesterday, the musical alphabet goes from A through G. There's no H. Okay, well, there is, but we're not getting into that. So we have A through G. So on the staff here, we go E, F, G, A, B, C, right? D, E, just up the musical alphabet, right? It's not too crazy. So if we have a note here on the line, the note beneath that, again, I don't know if you can see that super well. The note that's going to be beneath that is going to be right underneath the line. And so if we're going the musical alphabet, so we go E, F, G here. So the note that becomes for E is D, right? So that's going to be a D. Wow, I just wrote it backwards. This is fun. Okay, so now here's the thing. If we do a note beneath that, we have to add a line to it. So like there's a line here. right, on the staff. So we got to add another line. This is like an imaginary staff line. And we're going to put a note here. And then the note that becomes before D, of course, is going to be C, right? So that is how these ledger lines work going underneath. Now, bass clef follows the same principles. So we have, doing the lines here, we have good boys deserve fudge always. I don't know why it's always good boys deserve something. And then on the spaces, we have ACEG, or all cows eat grass. That's, again, traditionally what we've been taught. We're going to watch this video here. This guy like says that's bad, but it's really not bad. It's just a different way of doing things. Again, the note names on the lines correspond. The note names on the spaces correspond. Okay. So going up here, though, I want to talk about the notes that go over the staff for a second. So we go, A is on the line here. So that's an A. Okay. All right. And now if we go to a note above that, it's going to sit on top of the staff. And since we're doing the musical alphabet, the next letter in the alphabet and the musical alphabet is the same. It's a B, right? Okay. You know, not real crazy stuff here. Okay. Now the next thing, again, since we are going to, there's no more staff left, we have to draw a line here. Let's call that a ledger line. So we're going to draw a line and then the note head. And that note is you guess if it comes after B, it's going to be C. Okay, I want you to notice something. This C here, this C here both have a line through it. They're actually the same note. We call that middle C, which you'll see in the video here in just a minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this video and talk about some different ways of learning notes. Let me back this up for just a second. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. All right, I can see it better. This is better. So on this video here, we're going to talk about all the notes on the piano, just as a quick review, and how they correspond to the music and how the staff works and all that as well. So here we go.
All right, in this video, I'm going to teach you as quickly as I can how to read notes on a page. So first, here's a piece of music. We have the title at the top, the composer in the upper right-hand corner, and the music below. All these dots with stems are notes and correspond to an exact note on the piano. For example, this note here is G, but it's not that G or that G, it's specifically this G. So every note is an exact note on the piano. And reading music is just reading these exact notes and playing them left to right. These notes are all lined up together, so you play them together. As you move forward, it's just like this. Okay, now that you understand that each of these notes corresponds to an exact note on the piano and playing notes is just playing it left to right, now let's get into actually how to read these notes. So notice these notes fall into two areas, a top area and a bottom area. Each of these areas is called a staff, the foundation upon which notes are drawn. Now notice both staffs have a different sign. The top sign is called treble clef, and the bottom sign is called bass clef. What kind of notes does a bass player play? Well, he or she plays low notes, so the bass clef covers all the low notes on the piano. The treble clef covers all the high notes. Now notice, in each staff, how many lines are there? If you counted correctly, you'll see that there are 5 lines with 4 spaces in between those lines. Notice that the notes in the music either fall on a space or on a line. There are notes that fall outside of the staff as well. These are called ledger lines, and we're going to get into that very soon. Now here we have a clean staff, and here the first line in the treble clef is an E. However, the first line in the bass clef is a G. The second space from the top is a C. But in the bass clef, that same note is an E.
Okay, so I'm going to help clarify that for just a second. So he's choosing these notes in a way to help you learn it through his system. The things he's trying to show you is that the bass clef and the treble clef, if you put a note here and then at the same spot on the bass clef, they have different names, E, G, and then here on the space, C and E, okay? And so if you have a keyboard in front of you, you might want to look where that E is and that C is, especially in the treble clef, okay? Those are the two notes I really want you to pay attention to are this E and this C here. Okay, here we go. Let's continue.
The lines and spaces are different in both clefs, so reading music becomes a memorization challenge. How music teachers have approached this challenge is by giving students mnemonics to memorize, like "every good boy does fine." Memorizing that phrase helps you memorize that the 5 lines of treble clef are E, G, B, D, F. And the spaces are face, F-A-C-E. The bass clef also has its own mnemonics to help you memorize the lines and spaces there as well. The problem with this method is if you want to play the last line of the treble clef, you have to think, "every good boy does fine."
Talking about the F.
Oh, it's an F. That's slow and painful because you have to go through the whole acronym to get to that F. It also teaches you to memorize that that line is an F, but it doesn't teach you which F. One thing you can get from looking at this picture is noticing a pattern. Notice as you go from line to space, you're moving up the alphabet. You're moving consecutive letters. So the first line there is E, right, every, and then you go to the space, which is F, the F in face. Then the next line is G, then the space is A, and you go up to B, and the next space is C, right? And then line, space, line, you're at F. And that's the pattern of going from line to space. You're moving.
You notice he didn't use any black keys, right? Those are all white keys because the black keys, they would have the accidentals on them.
Moving up letters. Now, another important concept is what if we wanted to keep going higher? Well, we have the final line there at F. We know that you have to go line, space, so the next thing has to be a space. So we draw the G at the top of the line. It doesn't have a line running through it, so it's technically a space. And then we have the G there. Now, what happens now that we've ran out of lines? Because after a space is a line, so what you do is you start drawing your own lines, and these are called ledger lines. So the next note is going to be an A. We know right after G is A, and it's going to look like this. So now we have our A, which is on a line, and now we need a space. So we draw the line, and we draw the note right above it, so it's a space. And then we need a line again, so we draw 2 ledger lines, and we have a C. And you can just continue this pattern, and that's how ledger lines work. So you're just drawing in the lines. And it also works as you go below a staff, for example, in the bass clef like here. So with this knowledge now of lines and spaces, we can replace "every good boy does fine" with what I call the landmark system. Instead of memorizing 18 lines and spaces in a specific order, memorize just a few landmarks evenly spaced across the keyboard. So our first landmark in the music is middle C, right here. So middle C is the C in the middle of your piano. It's the 4th C from the bottom of an 88-key keyboard, and the 3rd C from the bottom on smaller sized keyboards.
So on your iPad, it'll be the middle C in the middle of that keyboard, basically. And so just try to find that middle C. Here, I'm going to back it up so you can hear him play it one more time.
4th C from the bottom of an 88-key keyboard, and the 3rd C from the bottom on smaller sized keyboards.
He's not gonna play it again.
Now,
Okay.
our next landmark is treble G.
So, again, going back, I want you to be able to hear that
As
again.
just a few landmarks evenly spaced across the keyboard.
Well,
So
that's
our
good.
first landmark in the music is middle C,
Here it is.
right here. So middle C is the
So you want to match that note sound to the note on your keyboard if you can, and if you can't, it's not a big deal either. Okay, so don't get too caught up in that.
is treble G. C, it's going to be the second line from the bottom in the treble clef. So the second line from the bottom is treble G. Now see how we can connect the 2 landmarks. So you have middle C, then after above that you have D, right line to space, then you have the next line E, and then you have space F, and then look, you're at G. C, D, E, F, G. Treble G is the G above middle C. Now, our next landmark is in the bass clef. This is going to be bass F, right? You have an F in the bass, so that's going to be here. And that is the F below middle C. Notice what happens when we move up from bass F. So we have F on a line, then a space is G, line A, space B, and then line, ledger line right there, middle C. Middle C is the first ledger line above bass clef, and the first ledger line below treble clef. So a lot of people, when talking about landmarks, write out 3 landmarks like this. Middle C looks the same in bass clef and treble clef, so it's just right there in the middle. Notice also that G and F are equally 4 notes away from middle C. So you have middle C here, you have treble G here, and you have bass F there. Between C and G, you have 3 letters, D, E, F, and between F and C, you also have 3 letters. And visually, you can see a sort of relationship. Treble G is the second line from the bottom of treble, and bass F is the second line from the top of bass clef. Now that we've memorized these landmarks, figuring out the notes around them is easy. If this is G, what is this note? Well, it's right above G, right? So right above G is A. And this note here, what would that be? Well, it's right above middle C, so it's D. And this note here, it's below F, so it's E. All right, so now that we have these 3 core landmarks, let's expand outward to the next landmarks. So our next 2 landmarks are treble C and bass C. Notice again you're expanding equally outward. So you have your treble G and your bass F. Now you go 3 letters out, and you have your 2 Cs. So you have your bass C and your treble C. And notice that they look visually very similar too. So again, with the treble, from the bottom up, it's the 3rd space. And in the bass clef, from the top bottom, it's the 3rd space.
Okay, so we're going to stop that there. Now, this is something you should be kind of taking in over 2 days. This is not a one-day thing. So if that's a bit much, just stop and then come back and watch that part later so you understand. And of course, let me know if you have any questions, okay? The last thing I want to show you is this. And what this is going to be is I'm going to send this in a PDF. This is a set of notes that I would like for you to spend some time with. So I want you guys to look at these notes here. I want you to know what they are. So you need to label what these notes are, and that's just for yourself. You're not going to give that to me. So you would label this note, label this note, label this note, this note, this note, and this note. And please notice that there are repeating notes. Now, if you play a bass clef instrument, I put this here as well. The notes are a little different, so just please pay attention to that detail. Then I want you on your piano or your keyboard or your iPad or whatever instrument you want to do this on, I want you to play these notes, okay, on the video for me that you will submit on Wednesday at some point. So again, get the notes labeled, then play these notes on either the piano, iPad, or whatever instrument it is. Okay, and that's what we'll be turning in on Wednesday. So you have today to go through this and tomorrow. So this is kind of a 2-day project for you. So definitely take some time with this. If you get overwhelmed or if this is, seems like a lot, just let me know. It shouldn't be. I think most of you should be able to get through this fairly well. But please shoot me an email. You guys have been really good about that. And anyways, I don't want to make this video any longer than it needs to be. I miss you guys, and I can't wait to see you. So we'll keep on moving forward. Alrighty. Take care. Bye.